All right. Welcome, everyone. I want to call this meeting to order. Happy Tuesday, November 30th. Let's open our select board meeting with a roll call vote.
Jack Creighton here, Corey Evans here.
Jean Haley Dippold here.
Diane Kennedy here. Carrie Thompson here. All right, all are invited to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance if they want. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We now can open the meeting to public comment. If there is any member of the public here, I do not think so. Just a reminder, you're welcome to email us public comments if you want. My email is ktompson@cohassetma.org as an option as well. All right, no public comment. We have Mary Quill here to talk about the FY22 tax classification hearing. Come on up, Mary. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. Good to see you in person.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Okay, shall I start?
All yours.
All
Mary
yours.
Quill, Director of Assessing. And the purpose of this meeting is for the selectmen to determine whether we're going to adopt a single tax rate or a uniform tax rate or a split tax rate by allocating the property tax over all 5 property classes: residential, open space, commercial, industrial, and personal property. The first thing we have to do is break down the classes. The value of the town this year, which has already been certified, is $3.3 billion. The dominant class is residential, $3.1 billion, represented by 93.2058%. The commercial, $193 million at 5.7%, industrial, $1.6 million at 0.04%, and personal property is $35 million, represented by 1.04%. So collectively, we combine commercial, industrial, and personal property for a percentage of 6.79.
Okay.
Now that we have the class breakdown and the percentages, the next thing is to determine the levy limit. And the levy limit is the amount the levy is going to be the amount that's going to be raised through real estate taxes. So we take last year's levy limit of $40,255,015. Under Proposition 2.5, we add 2.5%, which is $1.6 million. We had our growth certified. It came out to be $601,018, which was represented by $46 million. So that would make our levy limit before any debt or override $41 million, $41,862,408. And for our purposes, we're using the levy with the debt exclusion included. So all my calculations will include the $846,000. And just as a point of information, the only debt exclusions that are left are 2 school figures. One is the renovation and one is school planning, and they both, I guess you say, expire in 2024. So the levy limit that we're working with, including the debt, is $42,708,471. And then the parcel counts are listed below. We have 3,046 residential parcels, 280 commercial, industrial, and personal property, and a total of 3,326 parcels. Okay, so the next page is to determine what the tax rate, the proposed tax rate would be based on these figures. We won't have a final tax rate until the recap is done, but it should be similar to what we've calculated. So our $3.3 billion value was broken out. If we take the levy, the $42 million divided by the $3.3 billion, we're going to get a uniform rate of $12.56. And to prove it out, we take the residential share of the levy, which is the 42 times 93%, and we come up with 39 million. So out of the 42 million, 39 is going to be borne by the residential. Divided by the residential share of the value, come out at 1256. Same exercise with the commercial, 42 million times 6.7%. The commercial, industrial, personal property share of the levy is 2.9 million. Divided by 230 million gives us the same 1256. That's what we're anticipating. Next page is if we shift the burden to commercial. And by shifting 50%, that's what our calculation is. Trying to figure out how much detail I want to go in. I've done this so many times.
That's okay.
We kind of skip over the minimum residential factor. So if we shift 50% to the commercial, we're going to lessen the burden on residential, and we're going to burden the commercial, industrial, personal property more. So the minimum residential factor is calculated by taking the 50% of the commercial and reducing that by 100%, and it leaves a factor of 89 for residential. You do the 89% of residential divided by their share, and it comes out with this number right here, 96.3553. So that little calculation gets us the minimum amount that the maximum amount that the residential pay. And then, so the 42 million times the 93%, which was on the previous page, is that their residential share is 39 million. But if we're only going to use 96% of that, that reduces their share to 38 million. Divided by the value gives us a tax rate of $12.11 for the residential people. But if we're only going to use 38 million out of the 42, the rest has to go to the commercial. So the commercial burden is 4.3 million as opposed to 2.9 when it was a uniform rate. Divided by the commercial value comes out to 1886. So in order for the residential people to have a rate of $12.11, the 1256 is going up to 1886 for commercial properties. And then the last column is an exercise between 96% and 100%. So it's not as drastic. It's 1236 and 1541. I'm sure you don't want me to go over it, right? It's just a in between that and 100%.
Okay.
Okay, so that's how we get it. The next page is the impact. If we have a $1 million property and a uniform tax rate, for every $1 million, whether it's residential or commercial, they're going to pay $12,560. If we shift the rate and we use the most extreme, that $1 million property, whether it's commercial, whether it's residential, no, when it's residential, it's going to save $450. Their taxes, I'm getting a tickle in my throat.
It's all right. Go ahead.
Want some water? I didn't make it.
It's all right. We understand. It's harder when he asks.
I've been like crossing my fingers all day because I keep problems. So the residential class is going to save $450 on $1 million property. But the commercial it's going to cost them an additional $6,300.
Wow.
And most of the commercial properties are not $1 million, so it's $6,300 for every $1 million. So that's a pretty big hit. Thanks, Chris. I tried. Oh, you almost made it.
You're doing great.
We feel your pain.
Yeah.
It's awful. Okay, and then the rate 1236 and 1541 in the last column is the higher minimum residential. And that example is cut in half pretty much. To save 200 on residential, it's going to cost $1 million on commercial property, $2,800.
Okay.
So the next page is the proposed rate of 1256. The average single family went from $1,030,000 last year to $1,102,000 this year. And this is just single family. So the calculation for the tax, last year's rate, last year's value, this year's rate, this year's value is going to be an additional $413 for the year. That's about 3%, but that's just on that $1 million property. And then the debt exclusion, just for informational purposes, it contributes 25 cents to that 1256, and we're kind of in the home stretch for that. So just as a point of information, so that debt exclusion adds $275 to $1 million property. That's it. Oh, actually, that's not it. Any questions?
Any questions from the board so
Did I like
far?
that?
The rapid fire is amazing.
It's good rapid fire, Gene.
How many commercial properties do we have over $1 million now? Is it a very small amount at sort of the end tail or most under $1 million?
It's very small. We only have 127 commercial properties. I can get that for you.
No, I'm just curious.
So the next thing
it was pretty small.
It is pretty small. And the next thing that I have to talk about is the small commercial exemption,
Okay.
which allows us to shift within the commercial class. We get a list from the state of all properties that are valued at $1 million that have 10 employees. So there's a relief of 10% you can give to this class of properties that meet this criteria. and this class, the bigger class, has to pay it. However, all of the people that are tenants in one building have to qualify. So if it was like Shaw's,
Gotcha.
they would all have to be qualified, and if they did all qualify.
All right.
That benefit goes to the owner of the property, not to the tenants.
Right.
Right, yeah.
So I think there's like 3 communities in all 350 that have it. So it wouldn't work for Cohasset. So we need a vote on whether we want a uniform or a split rate, and we need a vote on whether we want to adopt the small commercial exemption.
Okay.
And then after we do that, the LA5, we don't have the excess levy capacity yet because the recap isn't done. So you can vote today, and then when I get the LA5 for signatures, I'll bring it back to the board.
Okay.
All right?
Other questions or opinions, thoughts on this, Diane?
Just wanted to note that in our budget message each year, at least in the past and including this year, we say that we are going to adopt a uniform tax rate just because we've had these presentations. It seems to make the most sense. And obviously we
Yeah,
don't want to punish our businesses either, business
I
properties.
would agree with that. Does anyone disagree with that? Yeah.
I don't disagree, but I looked at the comparable rates of different towns, including how the tax base is split up, and it seems like Cohasset's pretty much in line with similar splits of tax bases. It makes more sense when you have a much more substantial industrial/commercial
Yeah.
base, like a Quincy, which has a very different tax rate
Yep.
versus a Cohasset, and so we would be in keeping with peer communities, I think, to keep it a uniform rate.
Yep. I agree.
I'm on the same page here, especially, I mean, the split rate would be such a big gap and for
Yeah.
such a small tax base. And again, the majority of businesses in Cohasset are very small businesses.
Right.
And I mean, this isn't a community where you're going to find 50,000 customers. So, every $10 counts. So I think it would be a little bit unfair for us to try to increase the burden on local business owners that are just that are serving our community for our own benefit. So,
Especially after it's been such a couple hard years too for business owners, especially small business owners. I agree with that, but it is nice to see the options and I like seeing it on paper. So thank you. You highlighted it really well.
Well, I don't think we should ignore the fact that we've morphed into a high-tax state, and I'm not in favor of splitting it, by the way. But I think we need to pay more attention to the fact that taxes are high, and the town has a lot of money coming in and more coming in on grants. And we have all these discussions about this, but there's never any discussion about easing the tax rate. So I think the board needs to be cognizant that a lot of people are very aware of that. We have a lot of people who've lived here for generations. They're not making huge salaries. They have been able to stay here. I think it's important that, and many of them are police and fire. I don't know if we have any left. But I think it's important that overall, if we talk tax policy, we should be aware that taxes are a burden. And as a representative of the citizens in governing this town, we should be aware. We should be aware that we should be looking for ways to ease the tax burden. My 2 cents.
Diane.
3 cents.
Yeah, just on that, yeah, it's not like 7 cents, right?
I think it's
Yeah.
40s.
We did an exercise many years ago here, not necessarily with Mary and the Board of Assessors, but, what if we didn't tax to the levy? What would that look like if we didn't add the 2%, 2.5% each year? And it's probably something worth doing after the next budget cycle and before
Yeah.
next year, just to see, what I recall is that the differential is so small. It like saves the taxpayer very little if we only tax to 2% levy,
Okay.
et cetera. So it's a worthy kind of mathematical exercise to do at some point when we don't have a ton to do, but,
All right.
and have that discussion to Jack's point, just so we see where and what ifs, especially as property values go up and up and up.
Which
But
are
then you
going to
have to get the
continue.
people at town meeting not to spend to the max every year.
Well, exactly, right. But it has to be
Everybody wants
done,
their
yeah,
thing.
Right.
exactly.
Nobody's willing to give up a little piece of their pie.
So just being able to understand that if we went to 2%,
Yep.
it would look like this, and that would change this. in advance of doing a budget message or something like that.
No, that would be a helpful exercise in the future, I think, and this is definitely something for a future agenda item to always be talking about, because we very much care about it, but these are really good ideas for future
Or
agendas.
we could take a look at something novel, was saying just because the property values went up, that's an automatic tax increase. And people say, well, nobody has to take responsibility. So if we said your taxes are frozen what they are, and then if we do decide we need to spend any more, we would have to have the political courage to say we're going to spend it on this, rather than the way the system works now. There's an automatic, very substantial tax increase every year. Nobody has to be responsible. And elected officials and town government needs to be responsible.
There is a significant drop in the tax rate this year. So
Yeah,
we're
I
not-
keep telling
The
people that.
sting may not be as
Yeah.
bad, so.
For
And
13.
in 2020, which is the year we're analyzing
Yep.
now, that's year 2 of a 3-year cycle. I've already looked at the 2021 sales. We're almost in the same boat we were in. the
Really?
past
That's
2 years.
interesting. Okay.
We have the ratio, you can't even imagine the ratios we're seeing, the people that are paying double the assessment.
Wow.
And you think it's gonna run out, it's 2021 it hasn't let up. People say the market's gonna crash,
It
well,
hasn't yet, you
not
know.
here. And
Yeah, no.
You know,
we'll see it when it starts, but it hasn't started.
well,
It has not.
that discussion goes into
Yep.
the change in the community that we talk about in every meeting we have, whether we're talking about affordable housing
Yep.
or.
Which we have our steering committee, our affordable housing steering committee is on the agenda,
Coming up.
very appropriate to this discussion, because it is something that we keep seeing happen year after year.
Great.
All right, any other thoughts on
So
Looking for a motion?
this? Yeah, I think we're ready for a motion unless there are any opinions here. It seems like we're mostly in agreement.
There were two, you said, one for uniform tax rate and the other one is for the,
Small
The-
commercial exemption,
okay.
Yep.
Which it sounds like
you
the
do
board.
not want to adopt.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt for FY 2022, a uniform tax rate.
a second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of adopting this uniform tax rate, say aye. Opposed? All right, unanimous on that. Now we can have the other motion.
I move that we do not adopt a small commercial exemption for FY 2022.
Perfect. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that should be what you need, Mary.
It is, thank you very much. And just as a point of information, our values are certified, we're gonna be posting them.
Okay.
Appeals won't start till January, but people call, like November, December, looking for their
Right.
values. So we think this year we'll just post a list and at least they can see it, maybe plan for it if they have to.
Yeah, posting it I think would be really
Yeah,
helpful.
we'll put it on our page.
It's there. I saw it.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, oh my God, I have
Is there
staff.
Great,
I
the staff's great.
Did it.
Yeah, I heard rumors that I was going to be unhappy and I might need to start.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary, we appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Mary.
Just-
Thank you, Mary.
Back when the LA 5 is ready.
Do you
I
have a
just
question for Mary
And
too?
Mary,
Maybe a.
just
Hold on.
because you're assessing our individual homes doesn't mean we don't really like you.
Okay. Hold on, Mary, ignore
I
that.
have a very thick skin.
You would have to for this job.
Chris?
Diane, did you have,
No, I just.
19 years of cultivating my
If
But
I-
Mary, I know
Hold
some
on,
people
hold
that
on.
said bad things about you.
okay.
Just, Chris, a procedural question in that, we didn't open it as a formal hearing, but are we supposed to take
I
a vote to hold the
didn't know
hearing
if it
open?
was supposed to be a formal hearing.
Because we don't, nothing's formalized until the certification comes through.
Advertised public hearing.
Yeah.
Let's just move to.
So you should probably officially,
So I'd like to-
Close it.
yeah,
You're not
I'd-
gonna close it.
yeah, but don't play, yeah.
So we'll vote to continue it. So I'd like to. move
Okay.
Vote to
that,
continue the hearing until December 14th.
Move that we're opening the FY 2022 tax classification hearing.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of opening the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
And
Okay.
I move that we continue the FY '22 tax clarification hearing until the certification is presented
We'll do it till December 14th. It's date certain that way.
till
Okay.
December 14th.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The hearing is open and will be continued. You really can go now, Mary.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, moving on to our permits and events. We have Bill Burnett here for the Cohasset Triathlon, which is scheduled for June 26th. Hi, thank you for coming. It's so good to see you and have you back and good to see you in person.
Hi, thank you. So my name is Bill Burnett. I've lived here for 20 years and I'm at 28 Mohawk Way.
Great.
Before I ask for your permission to stage the triathlon, I would be remiss to acknowledge Chief Sylvia, who will be, as you'll hear this over and over again, or you haven't, we will be hearing it. You haven't heard it. Just a wonderful advocate to this event. In 2015 years ago, I went to Chief Sylvia, Chief Hussey at the time, to say, I want to do a triathlon. And, just getting that through the process and the years with Chief Sylvia, who was just a calm, cool, collected person, for me at the starting line has been tremendous. So he's an incredible advocate for our community. I want to thank Chief Sylvia publicly. But I'm coming for you today to, again, gain your approval for staging the triathlon in 2022. I'm looking for June 26th.
All right.
We've met with the public safety team and everything looks great on paper. We also are meeting with the Sandy Beach board and we're working with them to develop a good partnership, a written contract. So we're going to have a clean plan with them. And so I think we're good to go. Regarding the COVID situation, I'm getting great advice from USA Triathlon, which is the national board, and they're giving how is it all going to work and what's going to change, and we'll figure that out as we go. I don't know what more to say. Chairman Thompson, I don't know.
Yeah, do you think it will be the same size? Are you hoping that you had in years past?
Well, we don't know. I mean,
Okay.
this back in our heyday, we were the premier event in New
I know.
England and one of the fastest triathlons to sell in the country, frankly. I don't know what will happen.
Okay.
I'm coming to you all, as I typically do this time of year, to get your approval. And then I'll open up registration either this Friday or probably Monday, and we'll see what happens.
And it's
But
yeah.
your question, size-wise, it will be no larger than it ever was.
Got it. That was my question.
It's typically 1,000 athletes.
It's such a wonderful event and people love being able to participate and watch it. And it's really great to have you back and being able to plan for it. Fingers crossed.
Thank you. And I think one of the wonderful things is that I think it brings people just to showcase our community. I mean, people are blown away.
Oh,
by it.
yeah.
So it's just a great place for people to come and see what we do. It's super well organized.
Yeah. Any other questions from the board on this?
I'll just do a normal plug if I could.
Yeah.
Bill, I did the event 2 years ago, the last time you had it. Thank you very much. Great event.
Good.
Looking forward to this year as well. Some of the discussions I've had last year with some businesses about trying to bridge the gap between events and, restaurants and small businesses in town. I was a little bit dismayed to learn that a lot of businesses don't see much of anything from whether it's the 10K race by the sea or your event or even the arts fair. So I'm just always plugging to say if there's, I know that you have done in the past, have had some businesses, and where you are on Sandy Beach is a little bit difficult, but you do have the bus though. But if there's anything you can think of to try to include local restaurants.
100%. I would, this is a public call to any businesses, if they're hearing this now, that say we're 100%. Seabird Coffee, example.
Yeah, I remember that.
came down. There's a new restaurant coming in, I guess, in Dooley's.
Yep.
They can let's get them involved. So we can do that. Well, and the realtors they're involved as well. So I'm with you.
Yep.
And as a 20-year resident, I'm told I started this for Cohasset. Really, it wasn't for.
Right.
So I hear what you're saying,
Totally.
and I don't have any answers right now, but we have now 6 months to plan for it.
The radar dish open and hopefully.
100%. I totally agree with you. And if you have any connections,
Okay.
connect them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
with Chris or me for
I
sure.
was gonna say, let us help you.
Let us
too.
help you.
We're happy
Yeah.
to make
My
it
next
happen.
point was whatever types of advertising we can help you do, social media posts, ways that we can get the message out to the community as a board. We would love to help support you with that as you go, underway with the planning phase.
And I just want to add, I do think that's something important that we, as a board that's discussing communications and also for people like Bill and others that are planning events in town, to the extent that we can give advance notice to the people that are on the route.
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
Especially, and we've, we could do, I've been sitting here talking to you about this for many years, but, just a lot of the cul-de-sacs that get stopped. And I think communication goes a long way. People know a week ahead of time that, we're going to be closed down between the hours of 9 and 11 or whatever. It's a lot better.
Well, I think that's right, Diane. And now with our 2-year hiatus, now we're coming back. We've got to really put an effort on that.
Yeah.
And not so much on the Cohasset Mariners side of things. Now it's more online
Yeah.
through the town. I'm with you on that. We have to, because there's new people in town.
Right, there's new neighbors who haven't
Yeah.
So
been
they don't know
told.
that on June 26th will be they don't know that. So
Right,
we have-
and double over the
So
assessment.
more signage, I think, will be, that's a good point. We'll work on that.
And that is our goal too, Bill, as a board, we're trying to work on communication, so it's mutual, we want to figure out how we can help you better advertise, and again, let residents know. Any other questions for Bill? If not, we can approve a motion.
I'm happy to make a motion, and I've done the triathlon, and I've watched it from my house, and I enjoy it both
We
ways.
have a lot of
We
fans
have
and
two
participants here.
select board members.
I know, well,
Definitely not me.
Are we gonna have to post a second?
Jack wants
To do what?
to participate in the triathlon.
Okay, swim in the ocean.
So maybe we need a commitment from the two.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd consider it,
Wait a
sure.
minute.
You know,
If Jack does it, I'll do
Planning
it.
on doing it, but I'll be out of town.
Let,
Oh, yeah.
I have an
I am
idea.
willing to
Diane has an idea.
participate as long as it's not restricted to a one-day event.
all right.
Chief Sylvia's gonna leave you in the water.
Yeah.
So I volunteer in a kayak during
You
the
do?
swim, so you
Oh,
could
that's
do that.
fun.
That's
Okay.
It's an awesome way to participate.
I would love to
Volunteer.
help doing that. All right. We'll definitely commit to volunteering, maybe not
Thank you.
participating ourselves. All right, sorry,
All
Jean.
yours, Jean.
So I would move to approve the application of the Cohasset Triathlon for Sunday, June 26, 2022, from June, actually 25th, 6 PM until June 26th around noon at Sandy Beach.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the triathlon, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Very exciting. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks for all you do too. Thank you.
Sign of normalcy.
We're really excited that this is happening again. Thanks for
Come
coming.
Guys, thank you.
All right, that's a good thing to look forward to in June.
Yes, exactly.
All right, moving on to the public hearing that got continued at our last meeting for the transfer of liquor license for A Taste of Wine and Spirits. We did get word that we need to continue that one more time. Apparently, that business has had to renegotiate the whole contract and several things have gotten held up. So if possible, we would like to continue that now till our next meeting, if that is okay with the board.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor of continuing, say aye.
Aye.
All right,
Just to make it December 14th to continue.
yeah, to continue, that, I believe that's what we meant, but if we have to
No,
continue
you
it more.
just clarify
Okay.
for the record.
Yeah. All right, now we have our big night of approving all of our town licenses here. We got them here and ready to sign, which is great that we're in person and can do that. So this is our annual process. We go through this once a year. It's the annual license renewals process. And we need to vote and authorize on all these approved licenses and permits. So there's going to be a lot of motions that we are about to make. And I'm hoping we can do it fairly quickly and we can all get it signed so these can go out to all of the businesses. All right? Yes, Chris.
Madam Chairman, I
Yes.
believe in the past, we've had kind of like an omnibus
Mhm.
motion. So what we've done in the past is everything that's on the list,
We do it by category, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah.
Yeah. No, so it's not a motion per business, it's by category.
by
though.
category, right?
I mean, I would love for you to try to just do the whole thing at once, Jack, but I feel like that would be harder. So this has been something we've done where we kind of list, the person making the motion will start a category and then list all of the businesses in the category, and then we move that as a category. Is that right? Those of you who've been
Yeah.
around longer?
Yep.
Okay.
Chris, did you?
There are 3 surrenders of licenses at the end. You could just take those at the end.
Okay. All right, we will do that at the end. Okay, so I believe our first one, for anyone that wants to make the motion, is the renewal of all alcohol on premises licenses.
I would move to
Go ahead, Jean.
approve the renewal of the following all alcohol on premises licensees: Celtic Bistro Corporation DBA Via Bistro, the Corner Stop Eatery DBA The Corner Stop, A&S Restaurants LLC DBA Atlantica, VNAA Incorporated DBA Ava Cucina, White Crane Incorporated DBA Feng Shui Restaurant, Wynn's Kitchen One LLC DBA Wynn's Kitchen, RBLB Inc. DBA Lenny's Hideaway, Fire and Stone Trattoria LLC DBA Fire and Stone Trattoria.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of approving these all alcohol licenses, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We can start signing these ones. All right. And then next is moving on to wine and malt.
I move that we approve the renewal of the following wine and malt on premises licenses: South Shore Playhouse Associates, DBA South Shore Music Circus, 5 South Main Incorporated, DBA 5 South Main.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of this approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
I move to approve the renewal of the Red Lion Inn operating DBA, the Red Lion Inn, for their in-holder all alcohol on-premise license.
all right, we have a motion and a second.
You know, a second?
I'm going to recuse.
Okay,
Second.
one recusal, motion and a second. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstain? We have one abstention.
I'll move to approve the renewal of the following club all alcohol on premises licenses: the George H. Mealy Post number 118, the American Legion, and Cohasset Golf Club, DBA Cohasset Golf Club.
Okay, we have a motion,
Second?
we have a second. Any further discussion there? All right, all those in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're doing great.
I move to approve the renewal of the following retail package, all alcohol licenses: A Taste for Wine, Inc., DBA A Taste for Wine, Yogi Raj Corp., DBA Curtis Liquors, and Sejon Enterprises LLC, DBA Cohasset Wine and Spirits.
Thank you, Corey. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of this one, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're moving through it pretty good.
Move to approve the renewal of the incoming retail package wine and malt of the following retail package wine and malt licenses: Mulaney's Fish Market, Barrel and Vine LLC, DBA Barrel and Vine.
Thanks, Jack. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, opposed? Okay, this is a long one.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it.
Who wants, we gotta, Diane's go for it, Diane.
Ready? Move to approve the renewal of the following common victular licenses: Celtic Bistro Corporation, DBA Via Bistro, the Corner Stop Eatery, DBA The Corner Stop, A&S Restaurants LLC, DBA Atlantica, VNAA Incorporated, DBA Ava Cucina, White Crane Incorporated, DBA Feng Shui Restaurant, Wynn's Kitchen One LLC, DBA Wynn's Kitchen, RBLB Inc., DBA Lenny's Hideaway, Fire and Stone Trattoria LLC, DBA Fire and Stone Trattoria, Cohasset Pizza Company Inc., DBA Victoria's, 3A Pizza and Grill, DBA 3A Pizza and Grill, 5 South Main, South Shore Playhouse Associates, DBA South Shore Music Circus, George H. Mealy Post number 118, the American Legion, Cohasset Golf Club, Cohasset Pizza House, Atlantic Bagel, Cohasset Donuts LLC, H&I Donuts LLC, French Memories, JJ's Dairy Hut, Olympus Grill, Starbucks, Peel Pizza, Made in Mass.
All right, that was a great list.
Second.
Impressive list of businesses. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the common victular license, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I just want to know where the second donut place is.
Yeah, I
Are
heard
those
donuts
both the
twice.
Dunkins?
Diane has questions about the donuts. We'll find that out.
Please inquiring minds.
All right. Moving on.
Recuse myself from knowing.
Okay.
Okay, where's the next one? I'll do this one quickly. Move to approve the renewal of the following in-holder common victular license, the Red Lion Inn Operating LLC DBA The Red Lion Inn.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And one abstention. Okay, thank you, Jean. Okay, now moving on to our local entertainment licenses.
I move to approve the renewal of the following local entertainment licenses. There you go. A&S Restaurants LLC, DBA Atlantica, The Red Lion Inn Operating LLC, DBA The Red Lion Inn, RBLB Inc., DBA Lenny's Hideaway, South Shore Playhouse Associates, DBA South Shore Music Circus, George H. Mealy Postal Number 118, The American Legion, The Corner Stop Eatery, DBA The Corner Stop, Celtic Bistro Corporation, DBA Bia Bistro, and the Cohasset Golf Club.
All right,
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I accept as the Red Lion Inn. I'm
Okay,
recused on that.
all right, thank you, Jean. All right, we're getting there. The biggest ones are mostly over.
Where are we now?
We are,
Class car.
yeah,
Jean, just follow up with Tracy in case you didn't get
I'll
your-
do the move to approve,
I'll make
the
sure she got it.
move to approve the renewal of the following Class 1 and Class 2 car sales, new and used vehicle licenses. WN Motors, Inc., DBA Coastal Nissan at 742 Chief Justice Cushing Highway, and Cohasset Imports, 508 Chief Justice Cushing Highway.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the renewal of the following class 1 and 2 cars, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
I move to approve the renewal of the following Class 2 car sales used vehicle licenses, CBK Auto, Jeffrey Pincus, 547 Beechwood Street, Aristocrat Auto and Truck Sales, Joseph Rosano, 105 Ripley Road, John's Car Care, John Kubik, owner, El Haj Auto Group LLC.
all right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, wonderful. Okay, so we also, those are all the license approvals, I believe. We also have 3 that have chosen, who have either turned in or chosen not to renew their licenses. So we have to vote as a board
To not approve.
to not approve. So 3 non-approvals to vote on.
I'd move to not approve the renewal of the following all alcohol on premises licenses, Cohasset Pub Corp. DBA Mr. Dooley's Old Village Pub.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
If we said no, would it stay open?
I know.
I just said I couldn't possibly second that.
Again, not to get ahead of ourselves, but we do believe there is going to be a new place coming into the Dooley's location, which we'll all be very excited about. All right, 2 more.
Move to not approve the renewal of the following in-holder on-premise all alcohol license, Cohasset Harbor Group LLC, DBA Cohasset Harbor Inn.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? Yeah.
I
no.
move
Okay.
that we do not approve the renewal of the following off-premise wine and malt license, The Anchor and Sale LLC, DBA Anchor and Sale.
Do we have a second? All right, motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, we're a little behind on signings. We were focusing on motions, but that was a really good teamwork, everyone. All right, what time is it?
Crazy ahead of schedule, so we can just do signings if we want.
Oh. Sorry.
No, be sorry. I'm just saying I can keep them moving.
You guys can start those ones. We're just doing some signatures here.
Well, like elevator music and.
Yeah,
Flash.
yeah, seriously.
We will return at 8:15.
A couple. That end.
Good as you can.
Roberta.
We're way early.
Right. Barbara Ashes tonight.
That's part of the problem.
And we could move.
I think you can sign next, well,
Yep.
you've got plenty of signs.
Put them-
This might be for you too. Cory. We've signed Diane and I.
Hmm?
Sorry, I just signed your
I'm
arm.
trying. Oh, it's fine. Cory. I know we're early and we have the hearing to do, but we could also do the contract renewal discussion as well, once we're done signing.
So,
It's all very old school.
I know.
forget what my name is.
I know.
Brain starts.
The
leaking.
signatures start to get worse. We need the auto pens.
For 1 pen per piece of paper, like they do.
Can we do it by stamp? Do we have to sign it?
I think you have to sign them.
Can't get those like
Yeah.
red Chinese stamps.
It's not a bad idea, Cory. It's not a bad idea.
Doesn't have a red stamp. Doesn't count.
Gee, when you're done with that pile, this crew, our other side, have.
Yeah.
Boy, that ends of the table over there is awful slow.
Yeah, I know.
You guys need
It's
some?
You
not,
guys are way ahead. Jack, here, I'll start you with another pile.
Oh, I didn't know.
No, I got some here. No, no.
We have a whole
I was just
package.
the process.
Just, okay.
You're the last one. That's you, and then you're done.
Okay. Jack, be careful what you wish for. We're bringing you more.
Thrilling TV.
You're behind.
no, I'm good. I'm fine.
There, so. See why we had to do tonight in person?
It'd be terrible to do later.
And you had to do these all by yourself last year, I remember.
It was funny, I was
We
out
voted
the other
to
night and I
remember only
saw
let the
like
first sign 'em.
my lone name, it was sad.
Done. Almost done. Hold on. What is
Sorry.
Thank you. Oh, you
One of them has to be
Hold
done
on,
on
the
one,
red
two,
line.
yeah. Has to be done on 2 sides.
This is the red line.
Oh, so-
Hold on. What are these fancy?
Those are the auto, maybe? Oh, no. Entertainment. I know,
Murder ones?
there's one of them. From like 1950.
Yes.
Literally print, those were printed in 1950, I guarantee.
Well, they only reference dear sir.
Yeah.
But,
Should we cross it out?
Literally. Look at this. It just says dear sir.
Nice.
I don't know where we're supposed to sign on Tracy. These ones, want to make sure we're not wrecking them.
I believe they're.
Is it?
The guy at the party got stuck with all the trash. Like,
Nice, look at it, which one is this?
There's
Oh, this is
several
the
that
entertainment.
are like this
So
though.
you select, it says the original, they sign here.
Yeah.
You sign on these lines?
Yeah, no, let me just see the back one.
Oh, that's what.
Yeah,
It's
it's right here.
a very old school form.
I'm
It's
I'm
very-
sorry. I'm
so
just
these-
dying laughing.
These are, they come in a book, they're, yeah, they're,
Okay, so we sign right here?
yes.
Okay. We do sign,
These are all set up in the Tracy's.
okay.
Done packets.
uh, this back and
So
stuff.
just sign under my
How about
name
these
on
back
these
and
lines for these.
Should we have like a line of pens and just do one letter?
I know. So, yeah.
All the grade school kids.
Yep.
Almost done. Jack, you get one more pile started here. You having fun yet?
Yeah, Carrie.
Sorry.
This
Yep.
needs,
I got
this
extra
needs- this
behind.
needs Jeff too.
Take your time, take your time.
Is Jack missing ones?
Yep, no, I didn't. These bypassed him for some reason. Apologies.
Corey, this is one you missed.
Sorry to our viewing public if this is boring, but it's actually very important to get all these licenses signed. Your name is not gonna be alone anymore.
I'm the only one in blue, though. I should have
I
brought a
usually
black
prefer
pen.
blue. I would have done blue. I like the blue. Just own it.
I'm owning it.
Yeah, since my daughter got her securities license, she does all the work. And I just signed.
There you go. Like that plan.
I like that too.
Having to count down over a 4.
Yeah, I know.
There you go. That's fine. If you don't need me, that's money well spent.
Once we get the pen, so have to sign the consent order with pencil.
I believe is over. We are still ahead of schedule because we were really efficient with those motions. So I could suggest that we move our town manager contract renewal discussion and vote to now, unless,
Do we have
I don't-
anyone from affordable housing? We have one member.
We want to wait.
You do want
yeah,
to wait till
that's,
15?
that's fine.
Rob is on Zoom tonight, so I was talking to Tracy about including him from there.
Okay.
Is Susan on? Sorry, Sardina.
No, I was trying to help you wait till 8:15 unless you wanted to start earlier. Okay. So how do we feel about then moving the contract renewal discussion to now?
Sure. I'll move that we move the town manager contract renewal discussion from 8:35 PM to 7:55 PM.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Jack, you're opposed?
Yeah, I think if there are people who are intending to watch this, moving it a significant amount of time, is probably not in the best interests.
I vote nay as well.
Okay, so we have
It still moves.
So we have a 3-2 vote on that, so we will still begin
Okay. and
that
we-
agenda item.
You know, what we could do is, if, I mean, depending on the meat of the topic, we could also move any kind of vote till 8:35.
Or we could do another thing earlier, maybe like a town manager update. if we- Just move.
All
I'm
right,
happy to
so
do that
we
too.
did just move and vote to change this on the agenda, but it seems like there's a little bit of discussion happening now on whether we should move other things instead. So I want to open this up to discussion.
I'm happy to, well, we already voted, so we'd have to unvote.
Right,
Well, the process to unvote is the person who voted in the affirmative can make a motion to
Right.
reconsider.
Yep, absolutely. So you good with that, Jean?
That's fine.
Yep, so I'll just move that we move the discussion of the town manager contract renewal back to the 7:30, to the 8:35 PM slot.
okay. All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we now can,
Affordable housing says they're okay.
are you sure for more housing? We don't want to make you go early if you don't want to.
No, we can go.
Do you think you have an audience that is going to be looking forward at 8:15 though, to the earlier point?
No, these are approximate agenda time.
All right, you're welcome to come on up to the table and join us. And I think we have a couple people maybe joining us virtually.
So I have Rob right now, is that?
Yes, yes,
We weren't sure if we were gonna have a quorum.
I understand. And I know this is a little bit hard with some people being in person and other people virtually, but we're happy to see you two in person.
Rare occasion, you're ahead of schedule.
Thank you for coming. I know. You can never plan for these moments. We're just trying to be respectful of everyone's time here. Hi, Rob.
Hi there.
So good to see you.
Good to see you. Sorry, I'm not there in person.
That's okay. We get you virtually and we get some of your colleagues in person.
Yeah, life got in the way today. Sorry about that.
And we're very excited to hear an update on everything going on with the steering committee. I know that you've been very busy. I know you've had some really productive meetings. So this is a good chance for us and the town to hear what's going on.
Sure. All right. So why don't I set the stage, first. We have 307 units, affordable units in Cohasset. And one of our goals, or one of the main things that we're looking to do, is make sure that that is 10% of our housing stock. So the calculation is based on the census. As you all know, we just had a census, but as you all also probably know, it's taking them a long time to put things together. So we do not yet know the denominator for the 2020 census to see if we have, 10%. I'm going to spoiler alert, we don't. We've built some houses in the past 10 years, and we haven't added any new affordable housing. So in 2010, we had 307 affordable units and 2,898 total units. And so that's a little bit over 10%. But we estimated as of 2017, we have about 3,311 units. So, we would need at least 332 units. We have 307, so we're at least 25 short. We'll get the final numbers at some point early next year to see exactly where we are. But we anticipate that we definitely will be short. So that's the bad news. The good news is over the next 2 years, we have a line of sight on 43 units. So that should be more than enough to get us above. We see line of sight in 2022 of 27 units and in 2023 of 16 units. And I was just going to give you an update on some of those, what those units are.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, for 2022, one of the big ones is, I'm sure you guys are very familiar with the Chief Justice Cushing Highway. That'll give us 20 units that we'd be able to put on our housing stock. In addition, we have Elm Street, or not Elm Street, sorry, bear with me. Yes, so the harbor, the harbor project, they are going to be doing 4 units off-site. We believe those should come online at some point in 2022. And in addition, we have a gentleman who is developing 3 units on Main Street and has agreed to make one of those units affordable. So that will be 3 units total. We worked with the Affordable Housing, or we're working with the Affordable Housing Trust to help him make sure that we can, it gets onto the housing stock and everything is done correctly. But this was something that he wanted to do to give back to the community, and I met with him a few times. And so I think that's very positive. So right there, we believe that should get us the 27. And why that's important is, while it may not get us to 10%, as you may recall, we did a housing production plan, I guess it's been almost 2 years ago now. And one of the ways to get, safe harbor under the housing production plan is to increase, our stock by 0.5%, which would be 14 to 17 units. So if we do this in the 1 calendar year and we get these 27 units in, we should have safe harbor for another year when we expect to get the other 16 in, which we believe will bring us over to 10%. So we should be safe from 40B. To just continue on for 2023, what I have on there is the Pleasant Street development. That would be 14 units. And then, as you know, we've been working with Habitat for Humanity on 808 Jerusalem, and that will be another 2 units for a total of 16 units in 2023 that we see coming on. So let me pause there and see if there's any questions at this point.
Any questions so far from the board?
I got one.
Corey?
Rob, thank you for the time. You said that there are going to be 4 units offsite from the Elm Street project. Any concerns that those could get hung up and delayed? And if so, does that really mess us up for the 2022 safe harbor? You said, I guess we need 17. So if we only get the 20 units from Stop and Shop, we're still okay for safe harbor for 2022. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, we need to get 14. We just need a total of 14 to 17 units in 1 calendar year. So if we get the Stop and Shop, that'll get us the 1 calendar year.
Okay, gotcha.
And so if either the Main Street or the Elm Street get delayed, we could be okay. There's a chance that 27 might be enough. I don't think it will be, but it could happen. Part of it has to do with we have a lot of seasonal homes here. So it really depends on how people answer the question. So we can count the number of physical homes that are here, but what we don't know is how people answered the census. And if they say that it's a vacation home, it doesn't count in our denominator. So that's something that's kind of leaves us up to question. We can also get hurt on this. So we could have a big negative surprise if a lot of people decided to move to their vacation home because of COVID or something like that. And remember, the census was done in the middle of COVID. Our number could be higher than expected because in 2010, they said it was a vacation home. In 2020, they said it was their permanent home. I think with the 43, we should be in pretty good shape, but we won't know for sure until sometime in the first or second quarter of next year.
Okay, good answer, Rob. All right, Diane?
I have a question. It may not be for Rob, it may be more for Chris for clarification, because we just had our tax classification hearing.
Yeah.
So is the number of units based on residential units or total units in the town? Because, for example, for FY '22 tax classification, we have 3,046 residential parcels. And then if you add the commercial industrial parcels that are being taxed, that's 3,326.
Diane, I can answer that. It's residential. It is residential counted.
So my question is,
Well, there's, right.
do we
there's-
have 30,
Right.
do we have 3,046 residential parcels that would be counted as our denominator for affordable housing? Or are we gonna have 3,300, and where are those other 300? And
It is the residential.
Okay.
2017, we counted 3,311.
Okay.
So there are residential ones.
but separately, and again, this is not really an affordable housing steering committee question, and it's probably, nobody can answer it here, but we're taxing 3,046 parcels, not 3,300.
Right, so if one place is, if it's four condos on one parcel, that counts for four.
Got it.
For,
But they're
Units.
units
Units,
within
right.
the parcels.
Right.
There's my answer.
Yep.
Thank you.
I did that 5 minutes ago in my head.
Thanks, Lori. I was like.
All right, I think we're on the same page with
Appreciate
this.
it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Rob.
Corey is correct, on that. So good news, looks like 43 units. Two things I'd mention. One is we have been working closely with the Affordable Housing Trust. One of the things that we've done is looked at all of the town-owned parcels. And this would be really for things, we just know how long things take. So that's not going to happen in 2022 or 2023, but we're going to need to, as we grow, we're going to want to continue to have a certain amount of units each year. The inclusionary zoning definitely does help, so that if anybody builds, something big, we're going to be in good shape, but we still see growth every single year of, a parcel here, a parcel there. And for every 10 of them, we need one new. So I think past 2023, we're going to need to do 1, 2, maybe 3 affordable units a year. So what we did is we looked at the town-owned parcels and we identified 3 for the Affordable Housing Trust to consider. And in our considerations, we looked at, is it buildable? Is it, is it already, we tried to find the most non-controversial ones. Like if somebody's already kind of put dibs on it for some other project, we kind of excluded it. So we thought these 3 are definitely, reasonable. And, so it's up to them to, they're going to take a look at it. They're taking under advisement. To move it to the Affordable Housing Trust, they would obviously need to come to you. And it would have to get approved on the town, the town warrant. But that was more to just give you a flavor. These are some of the things that we're doing to look for next projects. On those types of situations, we probably partner with somebody to actually do the building. We don't want to get into construction. We don't think that's the Affordable Housing Steering Committee's job. But somebody, it doesn't have to be a Habitat, it could be somebody else. And we would work with them to, similar to Habitat, to build a structure there. Any questions on that?
Question.
Not being there, I can't read any facial cues.
I know, and the masks are deceiving. Jean has a question.
Hey, Rob, thank you for the information. What are the 3 parcels?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
I'm just curious.
And I'm going to see if I can I.
Well, Mary's here. She knows some of the parcels.
Yeah,
Sure, okay.
By the way, we failed to introduce ourselves.
Yes, both introduce yourselves.
Hi, Mary.
There was, let's see, there were a couple, I think 2 out of 3, we thought it might be better for the town to sell those parcels.
Okay.
And because they were neighborhoods where we might have a lot of opposition and difficulty, maybe access issues or something. So I know one was on Mill Lane. I know one was off of Forest Avenue. And the third, I think was off of South Main, sort of halfway between Beechwood and like St. Anthony's. I don't have the exact addresses, but the Mill Lane piece, I remember, was set way back. It was in the middle of some other kind of modest houses, so we thought that might be the least controversial because, yeah, again, these are all for, probably for single-family occupancy. So, you know, something would fit in there, and I believe the Forest Avenue property we thought might be good to sell because we could get a lot of money in that area and then have money to do, you know, more money to do a number of units somewhere else. So, but it'll be a long time before any of this proceeds, and the town would definitely have a say if they're gonna sell them to anybody, so.
Yeah, I mean, we've looked at a lot of these properties, kind of like a subcommittee to see what was out there and worked with the trust to see what is affordable through the trust for us to be able to do. So kind of discussing the properties in a public open meeting really isn't appropriate to talk about properties that are just an idea at the moment.
Right.
You know, in all fairness to the trust, it would be best that, you know, they have the opportunity to speak about something that they think is going to be presentable to the board. We're
That's
here
fair.
primarily just as a requirement. You know, we are to report twice a year to you before a town meeting. So the town meeting come up here in December. This is where we felt it was appropriate to get it going. And then, of course, in the spring town meeting, will probably be hand in hand with the trust on decisions made by both boards to move ahead with certain properties.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Well said. Corey?
So just a clarification, Rob, you said that for the inclusionary zoning, if someone's building more than 10 units, they have to have one affordable, but if we have, you know, onesie, twosies, threesies, whatever, something lower than that, it doesn't include. So I'm just thinking about downtown zoning. You know, there's a lot of discussion, a lot of effort for kind of revising some downtown zoning or just doing downtown zoning and development. That's very smart. I do like that. There's some projects that are on the map that are smaller projects, but still has an affordable housing component. So basically what I'm trying to get to is, I think we're going to be coming to your committee for some guidance on if we're looking at downtown, we want to be sure that we've got some of, we're proactive in including affordable housing units downtown. We get your input. So we'll be coming to you for that, I think. Fairly
Yeah,
soon.
I think with the zonings that we have, I believe is it 4 or 5 contiguous properties, right, Rob? For
Yeah, I forget if it's 4 or 5, but yeah, it's not 10. It's,
they have to have, it has to be affordable.
Okay.
and it rounds up. No
Yeah.
matter.
As you build more. So for instance, on Pleasant Street, they're putting in 14 units in which 4 would have to be deeded affordable.
Excellent.
I'd like to give a thank you to the gentleman who owns 147 South Main. He didn't fall into that category.
Right. That's
But
awesome.
he volunteered
Wow.
to
Very
get back to the town and put in affordable housing there. So that was great to have
That's
somebody
wonderful.
step up to the plate that it wasn't required. So we're doing whatever we can to help him navigate how to do that between our housing affordable steering committee and the trust. So there are people out there that are.
I want to keep encouraging that.
Yeah,
great.
that's great to hear that we had someone volunteer.
Could, on the Pleasant Street on the 14 units, are those all going to be rentals or are they going to be condos, in which case we'd only get 4 units, correct?
So we can't speak to that because that's a planning board decision based on who the property owner is, if they're going to do condos or rentals. We haven't heard which one it would be.
Yeah, my understanding is if they do rentals and they do the 10%, then all the rentals count. But if they do condos, only the actual deeded condos count. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Yeah.
It sounds like we don't know that yet, though, so,
Right.
To
This
be
was something that
determined.
was presented to the planning board.
right,
Right.
So of course we get excited when we see something in front of the planning board.
yeah.
And just to clarify, in order for the rentals, in order for them all to count, it has to be 25%. And so the original plans that we were informed of, it was going to be 4 units, which would be 28%, and that they would all count. The inclusionary zoning in and of itself, like, so if somebody builds 10 units, all rentals, and they make 1 affordable, that's going to count as 1.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the condominiums up at the train station, if you will. There's 2 units there.
Right.
They're all.
Right.
So that does
No, I
bring
just-
me,
Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
sorry, Jack.
No, I was just going to, so for people really at home to understand the difference in the counting of the numbers between if it's a total rental community or their condos, because otherwise they're going to call us and ask. So thank you for the clarification.
So I think that brings us to the next point, and it's really just something for you guys to think about, the select board. Numbers sound great, 43 units sound great. But to be honest, it's smoke and mirrors. So even with all of this, there's only 16 actual affordable units that will be created. But we
Yeah.
get to count 43. Of the 307, there's only about 100 and something, affordable units. So while we are following the 40B letter of the law, we are hitting our 10%. But I don't want to deceive anybody and say we have nowhere near 10%. It's more like 3. So just as you think of, plans of what we really want to do, if we really want to, make more affordable housing, that's going to be a really big, heavy lift. It's not going to happen with the onesies and twosies and stuff like that. Right now, we're focused on making sure that we meet that 40B. But it is just something I think, for the select board to, think about. And we talk about this with the trust as well, is what do you really want to do, longer term? Is maybe that's good enough, and maybe that's what we focus on. But it is, at some point things could change, or we could have a governor could change, and the county could change, and stuff like that, and it might, we might see different requirements. But also, if we really do want to, let me rephrase that. But also, if we want to focus on little a affordable that I've spoken about before, where it doesn't necessarily account in the big A affordable, that's definitely something to keep in mind as I know you're doing a lot of zoning and things like that, where yes, it doesn't necessarily have to be deed restricted, but if you have the smaller lots and stuff like that, that can help meet some of that affordable need, even if it's not deeded that way. I think the deeding, gets in the way. One last thing I'll mention is we are working with DHCD. There are several, what I would call, they're not town-owned properties, but they're properties that are owned by like nonprofits that we're looking at to see that are absolutely affordable. So these are good. Their prices are definitely, affordable, but they don't count in our housing stock. So that is something, in addition, that we're looking to see if we can count those in our housing stock. The rents are well within the affordable range, but because they were never deed restricted, they're not in there. So so there's a few there that we can add on it, but
Right.
going back to my previous point, we still have a little a affordable issue, I think, in the town, even with these 43, which are really 16 units.
Yeah, and
Yeah, no, and I think that's a really good point, Rob, because we do have a lot of people trying really hard on this issue, and very dedicated people that are having really thoughtful discussions on it, but it's a struggle. I mean, we just looked at our tax rates, and our average home price in this town is over 7 figures. Right? So it's a small town, and we have very valuable land and property, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't keep working on this issue and valuing affordable housing, and especially our aging residents are really struggling with being able to afford to stay in town. So this is just a broader issue that I think the select board and all of us as a town really need to keep talking about. And it's absolutely intertwined with zoning, which is why we're having those bigger discussions about zoning too, because there are some really big changes, I think, that can be made with zoning, and we're working on some possible changes that can also really help with this. Jack, you were going to say something.
yeah, because I was actually with Rob on the affordable housing when we kind of revitalized it. One of the things that's very frustrating is if you have an in-law apartment,
Accessory dwellings, right? Or what are they?
ADUs,
Is that what they're called? Yeah.
or, and Rob alluded to this earlier, because we've had lots of discussions. If the owner is not willing to deed it as affordable, we can't count it, which is very frustrating, because if somebody has a small apartment and it's affordable, we can't use it unless they're willing to deed it, and nobody really does want to encumber their property forever. So that's a little bit frustrating, and that would probably, we can't solve that, that's on the state level. So some of the things that we count as affordable aren't in the apartments because extra ones get counted, but there are units around town that in fact clearly are affordable, but we can't use them. Just a little frustration, and Rob and I discussed that at length. Very frustrating.
There are a couple of things that you could consider, and that is, for instance, in the village, if there's a couple of properties where they're going to be reconstructed into multiple dwellings. The state has really been promoting workforce housing, which is a version of small A. There's a lot of funding for that. It's the most sought after funding in the state right now, so usually it goes pretty quick. So those developers who are looking at it, if they come to us or to the planning board, that's something we can discuss early on with them to help kind of persuade them into an area that they may not have considered. And the state has a lot of mechanisms for financing and funding of those type of things. In fact, this budget that's going to pass by the state is going to have about $600 million earmarked for housing.
Interesting.
There's a percentage of that that's going to be down there for workforce housing as well. In addition to that, the state has what's called a 40R program, which is where if you build smaller homes on smaller lots, they always stay that size. Those are considered the small affordable housing. The town does have property that would fit a 40R development of anywhere from 20 to 40 houses that would be small, 800 to 1,200 square foot homes or something like that with within that state range, in which you could do that.
Does 40R have a transit component in it too? Is that 40R with the transit component? Where if it's within public transit, I'm just thinking about areas near the train station.
Commuter rail.
Was that part of 40R? Yeah, I think it was, right?
So that 40R has been around for a while. I know when Clark is on planning, he was on our committee early on. We had talked about this several years ago about 40R, which does do that. So, and there are a couple of swaths of land still in town that privately owned where folks have come to us and said, hey, I'm thinking of developing it. What's out there? And we try to promote the 40R or some aspect of affordable housing.
What is the maximum square footage for the 40R classification? Do you know, or
I'd
a
have to take
range?
a look at it. I thought it was 1,200 square feet, maybe 1,300, somewhere around there. It did have a range.
Yeah, no, this is helpful, just hearing what other options we could be doing that we're not doing. But you're right, there's the intent of the law and then the letter of the law, and how, like Jack said, there are some quote unquote affordable units that aren't classified as that. And I agree, it's a very complex, nuanced issue that is tough to, it's tough to do in this town.
Well, we're 9 square miles.
Exactly.
And we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. The rock being the ledge, right?
Right,
And
right.
the hard place is, how do we get there? How do we convince people to do it?
Right.
So that's a conundrum.
Diane?
Just a comment. I want to thank Rob on the Affordable Housing Trust, and he comes to all of our meetings, and he is really an expert and so diligent. Thank you, Rob, and represents your committee really well, the Affordable Housing Steering Committee. So thank you, because it's very complex.
It is.
And the other thing I'll just plug, because Tracy reminded me today that the MMA conference, Mass Municipal Conference in January, there are usually, and as soon as we get the schedule of programs, there are usually some really good affordable housing workshops presented by DHCD, Mass Housing Partnership, and communities not so dissimilar from ours, including Nantucket, being small and stuck between a rock and a hard place, or Sudbury, or people that, have these aversions to this topic in general, but that have come up with really creative workforce housing options. And I
Yeah.
would highly recommend those of us that are going to MMA conference to do that, but also maybe to get Rob or Paul or Mary or somebody from one of the working committees in town.
a good idea.
To go to these workshops, because every year I go and I'm like, wow, yes, that's something, every town in Massachusetts is dealing with this in one way or another.
Mm-hmm. Well said. And yeah, thank you to you
Thanks,
three.
guys.
Rob, Mary, Paul, seriously, thank you.
Yep.
This-
No, so thank
It's
you,
a-
everyone.
Well,
I mean,
Rob,
Oh,
Yep.
hold on.
before you leave,
yep.
by the way, Rob's daughter is a cheerleader.
Oh,
So you
yes.
need to tell us when the Super Bowl is.
It's Wednesday. Wednesday.
Tomorrow at 5:30.
Yep.
Okay, so,
Gillette Stadium.
Yep, very exciting.
I'll be there.
all
there.
right.
See you there.
All right. So thank you, everyone. No, I think
Thank you, Rob.
I think we have a site to actually create a unit. Once we do that, I'm done.
Yeah.
But, it's,
No, you're not. We get bigger designs.
We're not
for
letting
you.
you escape.
we're 0 for 11 years right now. So it comes year 12. It's gonna happen. I feel like
It's gonna happen.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you. And thank you both for coming in person. I know it's different to be back in person, but we really appreciate it.
I never miss an opportunity to be here at our senior center.
All right.
It's the only place I see you, Paul.
Aw.
We're just old.
All right. Again, a very important topic that we need to be talking about more. And we have some really thoughtful people in town, clearly, that are working on this issue, and it's not going away. So it's definitely something that we have to keep trying to be better at, I think, and we have gotten better. All right. What time is it? 8:25.
Good.
So our options are, we can move on to the contract renewal discussion, or we can do select board comments and town manager update.
I think we're
Is
close
there a
enough.
preference from the board?
Fine.
Stick to the agenda. I think we're close enough.
Yeah, we're close.
You two are the ones that did the.
No, I didn't want to flip it, and that was a
Okay.
big gap.
Flip
but now
it
we're
back
pretty close.
40 minutes, yeah.
Yeah,
All right, so moving on to the contract renewal discussion and voting to begin negotiations. Chris, tell us a little bit how this usually goes for those who have not been part of this before, and give us a little update on everything.
Thank you. So pursuant to the terms of my contract, I need to notify you a year ahead, which is now, that I'm interested in continuing, which I have. And so I'm formally asking the board to begin negotiations on a new three-year contract. It's very hard to believe that time has gone as fast as it has.
COVID time especially.
Especially.
Last year, 2 years ago, a decade.
It's, that said, it's been 8 years of, I think, a lot of incredible collaboration. I've been very grateful to be part of it. And there's a lot of exciting things going on now. And I think there's a lot more to do. It's a place that's energizing. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's not your typical 8,300 person town. And just from the conversation we just had, right? I mean, things are being taken, affordable housing is being taken seriously. It's not just a conversation. There's a lot of stuff going on. Planning. I mean, there are a lot of things that weren't happening, and everyone said, "Hey, let's make it happen." And by working together, I think there's been a tremendous amount of positive progress, and I look forward to helping with those conversations. Again, it's my job is to administer the day-to-day operations and to help, set up spaces for conversation and keep things moving. And it's a partnership. It always has been. I've always said local government's the ultimate team sport. It really is. And again, I think there's a lot of exciting things coming up. So again, I'm formally expressing my interest in continuing, and I'm asking you to formally vote to set up a small subcommittee. Typically what's happened is you've assigned 2 people.
Okay.
Again, I'm not looking to make any really major changes. I mean, we've done a couple of contracts now. I think it's good and fair. So I'll make, once you do this, I'll set up the people that I'll officially talk to.
Okay.
Give some thoughts, and then we'll talk back and forth, and they'll talk to council, and we'll go. So
Okay. All right. And again, the town manager job, I just want to say, as someone that's now been in the chair position, it it is a never ending, every day, 24-hour-a-day job. I don't think I realized how important or busy this job was until, the past couple of years, Kristen. It's quite an experience that you have in this job every day. And you're right, this town is not the average small town. And we mean that in a good way.
Exactly.
But
Lots of
also,
engagement.
exactly, there is so much engagement, there's so much happening, there's a lot of balls to always be juggling in the air. So we appreciate you letting us know. Yeah, Diane.
I just have some kind of process questions in terms of timing, because I believe the contract goes through January of
Correct.
2023. Are there any time parameters by which we need to negotiate this
I
contract?
had that question too.
The only trigger is again,
It's the year, right?
which is now. It's actually the month before the year. So,
Yeah.
it's so, no, I mean, I'd like to get it done. We did it the last one early, just to, so it was done and it was simple. I think it'd be easier, because once we get to town meeting, it's gonna be very difficult, we're all gonna be very busy. And, that said, if we're working in good faith, there's not a deadline.
Okay. So in terms of timeline then,
I mean,
I know you have to inform us in
Yeah, for
November.
me, so at this
That's-
point, the
yeah.
timeline is whether or not, I'm asking the board to express interest in.
Right.
Starting conversations. There's no time limit on it. I don't think it should take a long
yeah.
time. I'm not asking for anything. I'm not looking to ask for anything particularly radical, and then you all get to discuss it
Okay,
and determine where you want to go. So I'm hoping it won't take more than a couple of months.
Okay.
Again, we're coming to the holidays, we're all gonna be busy, and then once we get into the new year,
town
we're gonna
meeting
start
season
accelerating,
starts.
And, by the end of January, it's budget presentations, and then.
Right.
And then it's boom, and then we're into full boat town meeting season. Again, I think the last time we wrapped it up pretty early. It took, I don't think it took more than a couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a couple of months seems doable.
Yeah, and
I mean,
typically the subcommittee, I'm sorry, will, report back to the board in executive
Okay.
session as we go through the specifics of, pieces of the contract.
Has the subcommittee, and again, this is still my first term, so in the past, has the subcommittee usually been either the chair or just two people on the board? Has there been a trend with who the subcommittee is or consists of?
We've usually, it hasn't been consistent,
Okay.
but one of the things we've usually done is choose among people that still have at least a year or two
Okay,
on their terms. So
so it can be anyone on the board,
it could be anybody.
which I'm fine with. Okay. All right, Corey.
I was just gonna say, I think it behooves the board and the town to get this, to begin this process as quickly as possible.
Yep.
I mean, and, Chris, not saying anything negative here, but just if negotiations break down, it gives us time to change course.
Yeah.
If that happens. I'm not saying it's going to, but really, there is no downside for us to begin this immediately because we need to buy ourselves time. If we're
Totally
trying to
agree.
do this in 6 months left, it's not gonna be done the way it needs to be done. So I'm in favor of beginning this immediately.
Anybody read the Town Manager Act?
I have.
Yeah.
And what does it say?
I read it a couple of years ago.
What does it say
About what?
Which
read
part?
about what we're discussing?
Frequently.
Chris, I mean, you just told us that you'd given us guidance, and you said the only trigger was,
Well, in
In
my
his
employment
contract.
contract, which I think if you don't have a copy of, you will certainly
Ask.
welcome to ask. It's a public document, which was negotiated with town council, Council Durensis, and I didn't have a council. There's a 1-year trigger for a renegotiation, which we're at. And a contract can be wrapped up early. An extension contract could be wrapped up. That's what happened last time. We did the contract in the spring. I'm almost, I don't remember the exact date, but it's on the sign of this contract.
Your contract expires January 2023.
It expires in January of 23.
So that's
13.
13 months.
just
13
over a
months.
year from now.
Yeah.
So if we don't get something done, you're gone. Or we don't have a town manager anymore.
Right. Right.
So the contract's necessary.
We don't have a town, if we don't figure this out, we don't have a town manager in 12 months. Okay.
And the goal of, and it's common practice to negotiate these early. As you said, number one, it's, you want to get it wrapped up, there's also certainty, right? But for both of us, right? So if again, I'm expressing my interest in continuing. If I wasn't, I would also be telling you that I'm not, and it gives you
Right.
time. These aren't easy jobs to fill or to seek either. So, it's been best practice. I mean, I go to meetings regularly and I get this big fat book of clauses and discussions, but it's become best practice to do these professionally and early, right? So that's what I'm asking for, just to begin the conversation. So the Town Manager Act empowers the board to do that, and the contracts
Where does it say
are
that?
not longer than 3 years. That's
Where
the
does
only
it, where does it say in the Town Manager Act?
About what?
What you just said.
I'm not entirely.
It's in my employment contract that it says this.
But
that it's
I
up
asked
to
about
us.
the Town Manager Act. And you have told us that you are telling us, as is your responsibility, to advise us what we need to do.
Right.
And, and what you're saying is consistent, you're telling us now, with the Town Manager Act.
As far as I know, I mean,
Well,
it says council, look, the 3 years ago when the contract was renewed, council negotiated it alongside the select board. And that was Council Durensis who actually was part of the creation of the town. And
we are not disputing that.
so if the question is what I'm asking consistent with the Town Manager Act, the answer is yes. As far as I'm aware,
Really?
the answer is yes.
What does section 4 say? Could you read it?
I don't have it in front of me.
Jack,
Selectman Craig.
I think that,
Could you read it to us?
Yeah,
Jack?
read us the section.
well, I'm disappointed that our town manager is looking to renew and purporting to be an expert and doesn't have the Town Manager Act, which clearly says in section 4, the Board of Selectmen shall create a search committee to assist in the selection of candidates for the position of town manager.
That's when the Selectman Craig, and that is when the position is vacant. The position is
No, it
not.
doesn't say that.
So,
It does not say
okay,
that.
I think that we can have if we have questions about this, but the Town Manager Act is just for all town managers.
No,
Jack.
this is our town manager.
Correct.
Cohasset Town Manager Act.
Right, but it's,
And I don't
It's
think
not for a specific
unreasonable
person,
to-
though.
I don't think it's unreasonable to ask that our town manager explain that. And I specifically asked if he's telling us everything, and he said that he is, but he
So-
isn't.
Do we want to have our council clarify our town documents here if we're questioning a legal
Well,
process?
it's the plain language. I just read the plain language. I guess I'm the only one who has read the plain language. And I suspect that it says that we should consider candidates. That's what it says, right? And I've read
So-
it, and nobody else has read it.
I respectfully, Selectman Craig, you're completely misreading that section.
I
I'm not
just
sitting here
quoted
as
it.
town council.
Tell me where I'm misreading.
And this is why I'm-
I don't have it in front of me, and I'm not sitting here as town council. I think if you really would like town council.
I'm saying if we think we want to bring in town council to
You're
ask
welcome
them
to
this,
speak.
we can.
That said, this will be my third renewal.
This is
There's been
not
no-
the issue.
There's been
So-
no search. The search process that hired me in the first place was pursuant to the town manager.
Correct.
Contract renewals are allowed as a matter of course. I mean, if they weren't, then you'd have to do a search every time you had a fire chief or every time you had a police chief, and you don't do that.
Right.
You renew the contract when you're comfortable. That's.
I think, well, this is standard procedure that doesn't go against this, Jack, but if we want to bring in council to the next meeting to discuss this, we can. So you're saying that you want a search committee for all town
Well, I would
employees?
say number one, the first thing I'm pointing out is that there's been information about the contractual obligation of the town manager, and then I'm said, well, it's just a generic town manager, and I have to hold it up. It says Cohasset Town.
Well, it's not written for
And I-
Chris is what I was saying. It's written for whoever the town manager is.
Well, it's written for the town. This is the town of Cohasset.
Right, but this isn't, it's not the Chris Senior Town
That's his
Manager Act.
contract. That's an
It's-
employment contract, right?
Correct.
And I
Right.
think that we need to do this, and I do think that after 10 odd years, it would be appropriate to envision that. We just went through a whole process on town council where we felt that we should at least look around and consider it. And the Town Manager Act clearly envisions that. And I think that that if we are going to expect that people in this town abide by rules and regulations, we can start with the Board of Selectmen abiding by the rules and regulations. And it's very clear. The board could say that Chris is the candidate. But I don't see how you could just ignore this. And I do think it is an issue. I do think that it is an issue when I specifically asked if that was the total thing, that the beneficiary of that has then said, yes, it is, and then I read and it's not.
Well,
Okay, hold on. Yeah, go ahead,
Can I
Chris.
just give you, so if you read section D, Selectman Creighton, the town manager may be appointed to successive terms of office, no term of which shall be more than 3 years
That's
until a
correct.
successor takes office.
That's correct.
So that seems rather clear on its face that there's an expectation that once a town manager.
No, it says it may. Is no
Oh,
expectation.
no,
may.
of course it may. I mean,
Right.
that's the
Right,
reason
to
we're
us.
sitting here today is because I'm
Not an
expressing an
issue
interest.
with
Our
that.
decision.
I read that as well.
If you
I
have
read
the
that as
absolute
well.
right to say that I no longer want me, Chris Senior, to serve as town manager, and I'd like to start a search process.
Yep.
That's what that act would be. You're
Yeah.
telling me to leave, you're not interested in my services any longer, and that's your absolute right as a member of the board. That is
Correct.
the option. So the option is either you start negotiations with me, or you say, no, I'm not interested in negotiating with Chris Senior. I want to go in a different direction.
No.
That's your absolute right,
The
and the town manager
plain-
act has provisions for this.
Hold on.
The plain language, which I read.
All right, so,
The plain language
Jack.
needs to be followed.
all right, so I think that we need to bring in counsel to clarify this, because Jack, I think you insinuating that we're not doing this correctly is not right at all. We can go in two different directions here. We can have a search committee and tell Chris that we're no longer interested, or we can renew his contract. Both
We
of those
can
things
put
are
him on-
options
If there's
based
a
on
search
this.
committee or we reevaluate it, the precedent.
You're saying you want a search committee, that, you can say that.
I am saying that I want, number one, to abide by what the Town Manager Act says we should do. And it says
gives
the
us
Board of
different
Selectmen shall create a
options, though,
search
Jack.
committee. And that's what it says.
We also can appoint him,
I'm not making it
though.
up.
I disagree with your interpretation of the Town
It's not
Manager Act.
All right,
interpretation.
Diane,
You can
it is.
disagree. Go ahead.
And I think that is there for the appointment. The appointment's there. We have the ability to negotiate successive terms if we so choose.
Yes, we do.
Within his contract specifically, now we're moving over to the contract document.
Yep.
There are certain processes by which we do that. So I think I feel very comfortable, having done this 3-4 times, that we're completely within our rights. Chris is doing what he's supposed to do, which is inform us about a year before his contract has expired that he's interested, and it's up to us to decide whether we're interested in going in a contract negotiation way or going through the appointment
They're
process.
both options.
We're also, just to clarify for people that are watching all this, we're not there yet. We're just talking about beginning talking. We're not extending Chris yet. We're not agreeing to any terms yet.
No, the vote
We're
is,
literally just gonna say, we're gonna hear what Chris wants to see if we can, and if we come to some sort of thing and say this can be, we can still go, hey, let's do a search. We're not there yet. What we are right now is just saying we're going to open up a communications with Chris. It's not binding to us. It's not saying we're gonna do anything with it. It's opening up a channel to say, hey, he said he wants to stay. What does that mean for us? And then we
Beginning
can discuss.
negotiation.
So I'm just suggesting to us, let's not try to litigate something before we're actually there yet. Let's go through the process, and then we can decide at the points as it's laid out, whether or not we have to take a left-hand or right-hand turn. Right now, it serves the interest of this town for us to begin negotiations, so we know where we stand with our existing council. That way, we have time. If we want to make a different decision, we can.
but it's,
If we keep pushing this off, we're only going to make it worse for ourselves, just as a board.
Okay, and may I address that?
Of course.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Chair.
no, go ahead,
What
go
I'm
ahead, address
saying
it.
is the very clear statement that says, the Board of Selection shall create a search committee to assist in the selection of candidates for the position of town manager. Doesn't say Chris can't be considered. It doesn't say the search committee can say it's fine. Chris reads part of the Town Manager Act that says they are allowed to have successors, which is quite correct. There's no prohibition about successive contracts. That's very clear. All right. And having this search committee does not preclude Chris being reappointed. It doesn't preclude it at all, but what it says is,
It also says
That-
to assist. It doesn't say the search committee has to conduct a search.
it says shall
Create a search
All right.
committee.
So the search, we could.
Okay, so I'm
You
gonna,
could create a search committee
And
and
just
then,
Dr. Chris.
and
So can
just,
I'm ending, oh,
Right.
I think we need to bring in council to discuss their interpretation of this because we don't have agreement here and I think that we need
I
town
think I'd
council
like to be
to.
very interested to see if we can have a town council that says the plain language. The Board of Selectmen shall create a search committee. I don't see why this is controversial.
Jean, go ahead.
I do think it would be helpful to have town council involved. And I think as long as she's going to be involved, I think it would be helpful to hear from her in terms of best practices and different approaches. This is why we went through the earlier search for new council to have the benefit of their expertise across Massachusetts. And so I think it would behoove us to understand, at least me, who is new to this, best practices.
No, I think we need to absolutely bring in council, but I think we as a board, this is our job. It's one of our most important jobs. And I believe we have both of those options and I really want to hear our council's opinion on it. But tonight is about opening negotiations and
We are
it's
not-
also about
you
appointing
do
a
not-
subcommittee.
All right, first of all, you want to open negotiate that presupposes that you wish to reappoint. You've made that decision.
We can do so with a vote.
If you-
Right, but
If you propose to circumvent the thing and say without hearings or a search committee, that
So-
if the board, and you can all say, we don't care, we're going to reappoint him no matter what the town manager says, without a search committee, without examining various things. If the board chooses, go right ahead.
I would make a-
vote against it.
I would make a motion that we create a subcommittee for the purposes of opening contract negotiations with the town manager for his extension.
and I would.
I'll second.
So okay, we have a motion and a second. I would like to say that I think that subcommittee should consist of either Corey, Diane, or Jean based on their term lengths.
I would, let's take a motion.
Because these three technically have the longest terms on the board right now. So I would suggest that it not be me or Jack based on,
Could we vote and
terms.
then I'll make a motion on, assuming it passes, I'll make a motion on.
Maybe a compromise I might amend is to open contract negotiations and or consider the search based on what council says. So that way, to Corey's
So-
point, we retain all options and don't.
hold on. All right.
Are you making an amendment?
Is that an amendment to the motion or a separate motion or let's,
Just an amendment.
Chris, did you have a comment?
I'm happy to go 2 weeks, let Carolyn come and speak to all of you and clarify this. Because I think the waters have been muddied such that I don't want anybody to be unclear about anything, and I think Carolyn will help clarify. Best practices, Jane, to your point, and it's a fair question.
Yeah.
Selectman Creighton's very creative reading of the Town Manager Act. I think it's important that's what you hired counsel for. You've heard me, but I think you need to hear from her. I'm content, just to let this be clarified, to wait till the 14th, let her come in, let her speak, and then you can make a clean decision. 2 weeks is not gonna impinge on my interest in staying here. If that helps give you clarity, I'm okay with it.
Chris,
Okay, so-
as a matter of personal privilege, you described my creative interpretation.
Jack, we're gonna have
That was
I
not
have-
criticism.
All right, I think that,
I have the right to speak.
I think
I have the
that,
right to speak, Madam Chair, personal privilege.
Jack, we're gonna get counsel in
Tell
here.
me where, when all I did.
This is not, we're not
was
debating this till we have counsel in front of us
read
anymore.
Verbatim, the language. and
Jack,
that is not creative.
Jack, let's get counsel in here.
Yeah, well, I agree with that.
Okay, so we're
But
done
I think as,
discussing.
chairman, when he makes a creative derogatory comment, when all I have done
Jack,
is simply read the language.
we are the executive board of this town and we
That's
are in
correct.
charge. Yes, it is correct. So
Yes, we are.
let's bring in our town council to
And we should-
clarify it
and-
because
and
we're
we
not,
should enforce the written laws. And I'm very disappointed.
I believe that this board does enforce the written laws. and I
Well,
think
then
that's the
let's
most.
do it.
Okay, you can disagree with that, but we will have counsel in here at our next meeting.
Okay, the Board of Selectmen shall create a search committee.
Point of order, we have a motion and an amendment on the floor. which should be voted upon.
Does the motion,
The
an amendment
amendment
still
wasn't
stand?
seconded.
Yeah, so,
I'm happy to withdraw my amendment in light of future plans.
okay, so Jean, you're willing to withdraw your
Yeah.
amendment. Diane, does your motion still stand?
Wasn't my
There's
motion.
my motion.
Oh, sorry, Corey, does your motion still stand?
It does stand. I think that it still behooves us for our own purposes. I mean, we can, I think us being advised by town council is great, but
The subcommittee.
I think
Okay.
the subcommittee is something we form anyway, so delaying it, I don't think there's any purpose to delay, so my motion stands.
Okay. All right, so we can do this by a roll call vote if we want, for doing a subcommittee for this. So roll call vote, starting with Jack.
Jack Creighton, nay.
Corey Evans, aye.
Diane Kennedy, aye.
Jean Haley Dipple, nay.
Carrie Thompson, aye. So I think that these can go hand in hand. I don't necessarily think, here's my opinion on this and why I just voted aye. I don't think the makeup of the subcommittee is going to change based on how this goes with council, because I still think it's going to be one of these, or two of these three people. So I'm happy to have a subcommittee start working on it, but I also think that we have to have town council in here at the next meeting to clarify both the contract writing and the town manager act writing.
So the question is, do you want a motion on the contract negotiation team, or do you want to just hold off on that till we've had that conversation
And
with council?
I honestly, I would be okay with either of those options right now.
I think that a subcommittee that's, I think Diane, I would like to see Diane on the thing, because consideration, and I think Jean's legal expertise in this would be very valuable as well. So that's a subcommittee.
Very
that makes sense
diplomatic
to me.
move, Corey, nominate.
No, it makes sense. I just.
No, I
mean,
agree.
you know,
Oh, the other two.
I said I'm fine with you three that have longer terms, so how do you two
it's
feel
the chair-
about?
It's the chair's call. I mean, you know, so.
No, I actually think that's a great idea. I think you two would be fantastic if you'd be willing to do this. And again, I don't think this decision would change based on how the next meeting goes.
It's fine with me. It's fine. All right. You
Okay,
appointing us?
so I would like to officially appoint Diane and Jean on this subcommittee. Thank you both for serving. It's very important. And for our meeting, our next meeting, which will be the night after town meeting, we can get council in to further discuss this, if that's okay.
Excellent.
That's good.
All right.
If she could come prepared too to talk about best practices, including.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all that stuff.
And then as a subcommittee, you guys can, you know, begin the thing. You don't have to necessarily wait for us. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you two are welcome to start chatting about that as well. Okay. Any other final points on?
I would request that you also have her talk to me as well prior to the meeting.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
all right. Any other requests on this?
You good?
Okay. Are we still ahead of schedule? A little bit behind. All right. Moving on, we have town manager update and select board comments. Chris, any other update from
Just a
you?
couple quick things. I want to thank everybody for participating last week in the committee and board recognition evening. I think it was a really great success. It was a simple ceremony, and again, it's never, you can never say thank you enough to people who give up their time. And this town is full of people who give up their time and talent on a regular basis. And I personally am very grateful for that. I know the town in general is grateful. So I want to thank my staff, Tracy, who's sitting here tonight, Justine and Miriam, who did a lot of work in putting all that physically together. And also for the board, for the employee recognition, which happened the following. I thank you all again for participating. It's a great way to say thank you to folks. And the town has been very fortunate to have people who stay, who are willing to give of their time and energy and talents and really be part of the team. We recognize a number of people in uniform, public safety and public works and library, you know, all, and Tracy actually celebrated 10 years too. So it's a great testament, I think, to the stability and professionalism of the operation and to the support that all of you give on a regular basis to staff and again to the boards and committees. So thank you for that. And just a reminder, special town meeting is December 13th. It's 2 weeks from yesterday. Everyone should have a warrant at home. 7 p.m. Sullivan Gymnasium at the high school. Masks are required, so you see us wearing them here. Please bring them. We'll have some there too, but please have the masks. And there is a pre-town meeting kind of walk-through TV show, which we do before every meeting.
It went well. We filmed it.
Exactly. I don't know if it's on 143 yet, but if it is, it will be there soon.
I haven't seen it yet, but it might
And
be.
there should be materials up on the website shortly as well, if they're not there, some more materials. That said, if anybody wants to get into depth, the hearings on the zoning matters are on YouTube. You can go and watch them. I'll try to get more specific links up so people can just jump right to it. Though you can go to the YouTube page and there's a planning board section, there's a couple of hearings. The select board had conversations, the advisory committee had conversations, so there's definitely plenty of information out there if people want to learn more. And in the warrant itself, there are 3 appendix. One on Article 6, which is the zoning amendments, Article 7, which is ledge, and then the easement swap for the park rep boat. So there's, if anyone has any other questions, there's a little more detail in the warrant itself. These appendixes. So please give that a read. And again, go to the town website if you have any other questions.
Quick question for you, Chris. I know it's health department running this, but the booster clinic sign that I saw for Monday, December 6th, that's being held here, it's on the door coming in here. Do we know if people are asking if anyone can just show up for that?
Preferably, people should register in advance.
Okay.
I mean,
On the website?
Because there's actually a whole electronic system. It also speeds it up. You put in your health insurance and your date of birth and all of that. And, it's really a very simple system. It's called Colors, and the links are on the website. And I think I believe on the Facebook page, and I can make sure if you don't, we can share them with all of you to share. Please register in advance. It makes it a lot easier to schedule. And if you're having trouble, with that registration, just call the health department or my office so we can help. It's just better to register in advance. And again, all adults are eligible for boosters now, so it's open to anyone who wants to come down.
Do you know which booster?
It's Moderna.
It's Moderna. Okay. Just people are asking that as well. Okay. That was all I had for a question.
Big hand of applause for the people at the Board of Public Health.
I know. Our Board of Health is amazing.
The
And-
flu clinic.
Yeah,
the
flu
COVID.
clinics.
And like, there's still, I think there's still appointments available on Monday, so
Yep.
like, let's get these shots out there.
And it hasn't been easy getting booster appointments, so the fact that the town can have a couple to help supplement that, I think is really great. So all of us, everyone can share that. I took a picture of the sign, we can text it out.
And there's already been 2. There was one,
Yeah.
I was
No, I know.
part of one yesterday, and there was one 2 weeks before that, and they've been very well attended, and their age range has been a good age range. So it's available. So again, please take advantage of it. It's right here. And you're in and out in 15 minutes.
It's available to everyone. It's no longer the age restriction.
Right, it's any
5 and over,
It's
right?
open to all adults. And and again, I'm not giving any health advice. You should talk to your doctor. But I believe that you're allowed to mix and match, but with the different boosters. But that's all up to you. Talk to your doctor or your nurse. But the boosters, as you said, Carrie, will be right in this very room.
Great.
Next Monday.
Okay. Anything else for Chris?
That's it.
All right, select board comments. We can just go right down the line here, starting with Jack.
Well, we've had fun this evening. People, by the way, before we get into anything, everybody remember our skippers are in the Super Bowl tomorrow. If you saw Hull's game, it was a great game. We should be so proud of these people. They're well coached and they do what they should do. Go there tomorrow. It's a great, great tape. You saw, those at home, you've witnessed kind of a disappointing situation. We are a community of laws, and we have laws that say how we should act. And you're expected to obey the laws, and I think we should obey the laws. And I simply read the actual words in the Town Manager Act, which sets forth a very clear procedure. It's not pro or con, Chris, it just says there should be a review. That's what it says. Now, rushing to judgment, circumventing that, and going directly to negotiations, which first I heard about this, I'm on the Board of Selectmen, was when I got the agenda. So there's clearly been discussions about beforehand. Interesting to see who was in that discussion, but a decision's been made to go through to renegotiate. And then it was clearly said by our town manager that he was giving us complete information and guidance based upon the town manager contract. And then when I read the town manager contract, there's a little bit of umbrage, shall we say. And I just want to say to the people at home that just remember how important it is that the laws that are passed and ratified are followed as they are written. They're not, well, we'll do it this way. When I was on conservation, we were very successful because we interpreted the laws uniformly the same for everyone. And I am very disappointed. And the law is clear. It is not ambiguous language. It is possible to have a review in the select board to say, we like current town manager, we recommend that he be reappointed. But the same arguments that said we should go and do a whole review period for our council, which we did, suddenly, and everybody's in favor of that, suddenly nobody wants to hear that. That's thrown out. Follow the law as it's written. It is our duty and responsibility. Thank you.
So the, Chris and then somebody else that we talked about, skippers, stole my thunder. My two things today were, obviously tomorrow it's gonna be cold, and Foxborough, I mean, Cohasset's not close to anything, but you know, Cohasset to Foxborough is a long trip. But it's like the only time, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's the only time because we've got a great football team, but it's a really unique experience. So if you can get out there, I'll be out there with my kids. It's also on the radio. You can turn the radio on, it'll be on sports radio. You'll have some of the famous Boston sportscasters calling our own local kids, which is awesome. And the second thing was just a shout out to obviously our Board of Public Health, Mary Goodwin, Pam Fahey, the whole team, and anyone who's looking for a booster. Monday, you can sign up online. I just tweeted the link earlier today, but I'll share it on everything. So get your boosters if you feel that's appropriate. Thank you.
Okay, yes, go Skippers. And I've also gotten several emails and phone calls about some issues happening at the dump and the transfer station. And I think there's some really interesting ideas for how we can make that whole process better. So I want to acknowledge all of the citizens that have contacted some of us on that issue. I think that it's been used even more because people have been home more. There's some things that I think we can do creatively with the boutique to help streamline that process. And I really appreciate all of the feedback. There's a lot of energy and excitement on that issue. So I'm looking forward to having that on a future agenda. Yeah, and go Skippers. Diane.
Couple quick things. I just want to also talk about the board and committee event. It was so wonderful. I've had so many people that have been serving this town for a very long time compliment the town for putting that on. And and I hope they don't mind me calling them out, but there were two water commissioners that have never met each other.
No way.
They've been meeting together for 2 years, since March of 2020 on Zoom, or May of 2020 when one of them was elected. And they met each other for the first time the other night. So, I mean, that was just kind of mind-boggling on one sense, but really wonderful for both of them. Just to flag, because it just came to my mind when you mentioned the dump for some reason. We had started a conversation about permits and maybe perhaps changing how we do it.
Stickers. Okay, got it,
Stickers. For RTF.
That's been on our list for an agenda
Just want to make
coming
sure
up,
that
so,
doesn't get lost, because I know at some point we're going to have renewal stickers ordered and printed and all that kind of thing. And the only other thing I want to say is nobody loves football more than I do. However, we've had a lot of success with our high school teams, including the boys soccer and the girls soccer that went to the state championship. And it was a really exciting game, and they lost on penalty kicks at the end. I think it was the third overtime. So anyway, it's really remarkable. Those kids, all of them came out proverbially swinging after a year of really not being able to do a whole lot. So congratulations to all of them. And their coaches.
A lot of athletic talent right now in our school system. It's really impressive. Jean?
Well, even though I'm slightly feverish, I do want to thank our public health nurses and personnel for their COVID booster I got yesterday in the clinic, just from the booster. I will attest that it was a very well-run clinic, and I would encourage all to go to it. So that's number one. And I'm not going to go into too much depth, but just want to echo the good wishes to our Cohasset sports teams, and congratulations to those who made it so far, which is really impressive for such a small town. I also wanted to flag to people because I know that as we move into the winter storm season, the issues around electricity are going to probably continue to resurface intermittently. And we had a really interesting meeting with the Alternative Energy Committee on November 18th, which hopefully will be up on YouTube soon, about municipalization and different solutions. Really thoughtful, I thought, in-depth conversation. So I'd encourage people to look at that. And then the last thing that I just wanted to say, and I think this is probably more of a request into the future, is that I did also had a really good meeting with members of the Town Hall Building Committee, Capital Budget, and Dawn from our town finance manager. And we had a really good, thoughtful discussion on the numbers surrounding Town Hall and financing. I do think that we would all benefit from having more of those conversations, including a series of them about our various financial and capital needs as we move into the winter and spring season, because I do think we're going to be approaching a lot of big picture issues, and the more we can sort of get ahead of that through some sort of collaborative workshops like the one that we had earlier this month, I think it would benefit all of us to, if nothing else, at least be informed. So I would encourage us to
Okay.
think about something like that.
All right, well said. All right, we don't have any topics not reasonably anticipated. I will look for a motion to adjourn. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, meeting's adjourned. See everyone at town meeting.